so I don't disagree with you that in practicality, you can do this and you can take that risk. From a legal perspective,
Right.
I can't advise
can't
that
say
that is the best way to do it.
Hey everyone, Kevin Amos, Pine Financial Group. We work together so you succeed. If you've just stumbled across a video, if you've been following us for a while, be sure to hit the subscribe button and maybe mash on that notification button so you get notified each time we have fresh new content. I have a fantastic guest with me today. Looking a little nervous here, Jared.
No, I'm good. Let's go.
Jared Seidenberg, he's an attorney for Pine Financial. He does a lot of our legal work for us. And we want to talk today about how to protect yourself when you're owning rental properties. So we talked just briefly before you sat here and you really had no idea what was going on. What do you suggest people do to protect themselves from lawsuits when they own rental property?
Well, I think the first thing is you got to get a choice of entity out there, and you got to decide how you're going to structure your company in a way that protects your assets and keeps things in single purpose entities. If you've got a lot of rentals, it's good to bifurcate them so that they're protected that way. If you have a slip and fall, or if there's a big problem that happens, then you've isolated that one particular property around from everything else. And so, that's the number one thing I tell people is they've got to start with LLCs, and they've got to make sure that they're solid and that they use them correctly.
Okay, so I want to touch on two things here. I get a lot of feedback about the due on sale clause, so we'll get into that. But I also want to ask you this question because you said a single purpose LLC, which I'm going to disagree with a little bit. And the only reason for that is for the ease of business. So for asset protection, I agree with you. One LLC, one property, right? But what do you think about the ease of business and keeping everything separate and separate tax returns and all of that? Would it make sense to maybe put a few properties in each LLC, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and I think that's a consideration that we always talk to clients about, is that when you have these different LLCs, you are adding layers of complexity. There's no doubt about it. That's the purpose of doing it, though, is to make sure that you're complex enough to fit your situation. So, if you've got some properties that are similar in a similar area that you have a similar amount of risk on, then I could say, yeah, put them into one different LLC. But in general, if you're willing to go through that, I think that we get to multiple LLCs unless it's just so cumbersome or it's a short-term hold. The LLC is a perfect vehicle for rental properties.
So someone would call your office if they're in Colorado and they want to, or is it just Colorado?
Just Colorado. Yep.
Just Colorado, and you want help with your LLCs, know what's best, one, two, however many. Every real estate investor has a unique situation. So for example, if you own an apartment building that has a ton of equity, I would absolutely agree with you, Jared, that you would want to put it in a separate LLC. But a lot of properties, just a little bit of equity in each one, maybe it makes sense for your situation to only have one LLC for the whole thing.
Well, and I think that's a good point, Kevin, that everybody's situation is different. And so it's hard to say that there is one particular solution that fits every particular thing that we come across. And so one of the things that we do is sit down with clients at the beginning. We have to understand what their goals are, how long they're going to hold these properties, and how long they're going to rent them out, whether they're going to convert them, if they're condos, if they're townhomes.
Yeah, so
So
complex.
there is just a ton of different ways that you can do this. And there isn't one particular one that's right or wrong. It really depends on your particular situation.
So universally, anytime I ask an attorney, what should we do with a rental property? Should I hold it in my personal name? 100% of attorneys I ask that question say no. Get it into an entity, help protect your personal assets. But then there's this clause in the mortgage or deed of trust, the due on sale clause. And I'll put one up, it'll come up on the video, the exact clause that you would see in a sample agreement or a mortgage or deed of trust so you could see it. But it says, the lender may call the loan due if you transfer title. So understanding that, what's your advice to your clients if they're worried about a due on sale clause?
Well, one thing would be to form the LLC and purchase it in that entity before you do it. And so if you're planning and you know what your business looks like, you should be able to scale your operation to absorb new properties as they come in, and you've got a vehicle that's ready to go. If you haven't done that, and you want to transfer it into an LLC, you call the lender and you get them on the phone, have a conversation with them, tell them what you're planning on doing, and you move from there, and you look and you work with them as a partner and make sure that you're not disturbing that relationship, because it's hugely important.
Okay, that's well said from an attorney. I would not do that. I thought you might say something very similar to that. So if you're really worried about the due on sale clause, you should do what Jared just said. I'll preface it with this. There's no due on sale jail, okay? This is not a crime. You're basically violating a term in an agreement, and the worst that could happen is they can call the loan due. But I'll tell you this, I have never, with the exception of one, never even heard of a lender doing this, calling it due. As long as you continue to make your payments, I can't see that being a big risk, and myself and the people that I associate with choose not to call the lender and tell them what they're doing.
Well, I can tell you in my practice, I've never had a client come to me telling me that the lender is calling the note based on this situation.
Based on them
So,
trying to protect themselves.
Yeah, so I don't disagree with you that in practicality, you can do this and you can take that risk. From a legal perspective,
Right.
I can't advise
can't
that
say
that is the best way to do it. But this is the disconnect between reality of being a real estate investor and the legal ramifications of what you do. And you just have to get the best advice you can, do the best you can, move forward in the best way possible, and sometimes hope it all works out.
He is a fantastic attorney. This is why I bring him in. This is why I want him working for me and my business. Helps me out a lot. How do they get a hold of you, Jared?
Oh, you can call me at the office. It's 720-990-5530. We've got a website. It's anterolaw.com, and we're happy to help in anything that you've got.
And be sure to check us out, Pine Financial Group, at pinefinancialgroup.com.